Robbie Lawlor. Known for his involvement in some of the most shocking and violent crimes in Irish history, Lawlor's story is a stark reminder of the brutal realities of gang violence. His rise from a troubled youth in Dublin's Donaghmede to his pivotal role in a series of high-profile murders. Robbie Lawlor is a name that resonates strongly in Ireland. To understand Lawlor's background and the events leading to one of the most shocking murders in Irish history, it's crucial to start from his early years and trace his path into the criminal underworld. Lawlor grew up in Donaghmede, a neighborhood in Dublin known for its struggles with high unemployment and crime. From a young age, he was involved in petty crimes, including car theft. His early criminal activities were driven by a desire to escape poverty and achieve material success. In an environment rife with drug dealers and unemployment, Lawlor quickly gained a reputation for violence. By his teenage years, Lawlor had become entangled with serious criminals in Dublin. His growing involvement in the criminal world laid the groundwork for a series of violent events that would follow. To fully grasp who Lawlor was and how he ended up committing some of the most heinous crimes in Irish history, we need to look at key moments in his criminal career. One significant event occurred in 2005 with the murder of Mark Byrne. Byrne, a known drug dealer from the Tallaght area of Dublin, had a confrontation with Lawlor in Mountjoy Prison. This altercation was believed to be the motive behind Byrne's murder. Byrne, who had recently been released from North Dublin Prison, was on temporary release for compassionate reasons. On that fateful morning, he was shot 3 times in the face, including once in the head, while he was standing at the corner of Berkeley Road and Echo Street. Despite immediate medical attention, Byrne died at around 7:45 a.m. The attack, witnessed by many due to its location on a busy street, was a brutal display of Lawlor's increasing violence. In 2009, Lawlor's criminal activities escalated further. He became involved in a shocking incident in Darndale, North Dublin, where a young man named Anthony AyoDeji was critically injured in a shooting. The attack occurred while Deji was in a friend's car, and the shooter fired 5 shots through the car's window. AyoDeji, who was either on the victim's lap or in the passenger seat, sustained minor injuries. The attack was deemed reckless by the police, with the shooting believed to be driven by personal grievances, including racist motives rather than gang-related issues. Lawlor was arrested in connection with the shooting, highlighting his dangerous and unpredictable nature. Another significant crime connected to Lawlor was the murder of David Fred Lynch in 2009. Lynch, a known associate of rival gang leaders, had a history of conflict with other criminal factions. His involvement in the gang scene made him a target, especially after being shot outside a pub in 2006, a testament to the violent environment he was entrenched in. Lynch's murder was particularly brutal. His body was discovered in a desolate wasteland, showing signs of having been executed. He had been shot 3 times in the head, execution style. The manner in which he was killed, shot at close range and left in a remote area, suggested a calculated move, possibly involving a premeditated lure to the site or an initial murder elsewhere before being dumped. The investigation into Lynch's death revealed that he had been contacted by a member of a rival gang shortly before his murder. This contact was seen as a setup leading to his execution. Lawlor emerged as a prime suspect due to his deep involvement in Dublin's gang conflicts and his known associations with violent criminal elements. His role in Lynch's murder highlighted his significant influence in the criminal underworld and underscored the ongoing and deadly nature of the gang wars in Dublin. In 2018, Lawlor was implicated in another violent act. He was suspected of murdering a man named Mr. Finn in Dublin, who had previously been a target due to his connections with rival gangs. Although Lawlor was arrested, he was never formally charged with this murder. The killing of Finn demonstrated Lawlor's willingness to commit murder against even those within his own criminal circle, emphasizing his ruthlessness. Lawlor's criminal activities spanned a broad range of offenses, extending far beyond murder. In 2013, he was notably convicted for a brazen armed robbery at a McDonald's in Donaghmede. During this heist, Lawlor, armed with a handgun, threatened a security guard, showcasing his readiness to use violence in his criminal endeavors. This robbery was part of a pattern of frequent armed robberies and violent crimes that marked his criminal career. Lawlor's encounters with the law were frequent and varied. He had a history of multiple convictions, which included several prison sentences, primarily for traffic offenses. However, it was his involvement in more severe crimes, such as armed robbery and murder, that kept him in the public eye. His criminal network was extensive and included connections to notorious gang leaders and factions associated with the real IRA. These associations not only enhanced his reputation for danger, but also indicated his deep entanglement in the criminal underworld. Cornelius Price, a notorious gangster from a traveling family, was another significant figure in this criminal web, with a reputation rooted in violence and criminal enterprises. Price, a member of a notorious traveling family, has a significant criminal record that includes multiple convictions. His criminal activities span various violent crimes, including assault, robbery, and murder. One of the notable incidents associated with Price is the murder of Willie Maughan and his girlfriend, Anna Phelan, in 2015. Maughan and Phelan went missing in April 2015, and their bodies were found in a shallow grave in County Meath in May 2015. This case garnered significant media attention due to its brutal nature and the involvement of criminal gangs. Price's gang, known for its involvement in violent crime, was suspected of having a role in this case. The investigation into Maughan's disappearance and murder led to searches of Price's properties, including his residence and other locations associated with him. Despite being a chief suspect, Price was not immediately charged in connection with this specific murder. The case was marked by a series of violent actions by Price's associates. In a disturbing turn, Price's gang members were involved in the desecration of graves and arson attacks as part of their efforts to impede the investigation. These actions were aimed at intimidating witnesses and obstructing law enforcement efforts. Price's criminal history includes a conviction for assaulting a police officer, which is part of his broader pattern of violent behavior. His connections with other criminal figures and gangs have contributed to his dangerous reputation. Throughout his criminal career, Price has faced legal challenges, including imprisonment for various offenses, but has remained a significant figure in Dublin's criminal landscape. Despite ongoing investigations and legal scrutiny, Price and his associates have continued to exert influence through violent means, further complicating the law enforcement efforts to dismantle their operations. The murder of Willie Maughan and Anna Phelan remains a notable case in the broader context of criminal activities in Dublin. Upon Robbie Lawlor's release from prison in 2015, he attempted to embrace a new role as a family man. Lawlor, who fathered 2 children with his long-term partner, seemed to make efforts to distance himself from his criminal past. He often shared moments with his family on social media, presenting himself as a devoted father and partner. These images and posts suggested a life focused on family and stability, contrasting sharply with his notorious criminal reputation. However, this apparent shift towards family life did not mark a true departure from his criminal activities. Lawlor's return to the criminal underworld was both swift and violent. He was deeply involved in the gang conflicts that plagued Coolock, a district in Dublin notorious for its gang violence. His involvement in these disputes became increasingly prominent, culminating in a series of violent events in 2018. In February 2018, Lawlor's name surfaced in connection with a high-profile murder linked to ongoing gang conflicts. Lawlor was implicated in the violent feud involving Richie Carberry, a significant figure associated with the Mr. Big Gang. During this period, Lawlor was suspected of being involved in an attempt to assassinate Carberry. The feud escalated, and in a tragic turn of events, Lawlor was accused of the murder of Mr. Finn, an associate of Carberry. Finn was shot multiple times and died from his injuries, though he had initially survived an earlier attack. Lawlor's arrest in connection with Finn's murder drew significant media attention. Despite being detained, he was never formally charged with the crime. The case illustrated the often chaotic and elusive nature of gang violence, where legal repercussions are not always straightforward or guaranteed. Lawlor's criminal activities were not limited to this incident. His involvement in various violent acts and disputes demonstrated the pervasive influence of gang affiliations on his life. Lawlor had been previously linked to several other violent incidents and was a key figure in the criminal network operating in Dublin. His activities continued to attract attention from law enforcement, highlighting the ongoing challenges in addressing gang-related violence in the region. Additionally, Lawlor was known for his connections with various criminal figures and gangs, contributing to his dangerous reputation. His role in these criminal networks often placed him at the center of violent conflicts and legal scrutiny. Despite efforts to present a more stable family image, Lawlor's continued involvement in criminal activities underscored the difficulty of escaping his past. Lawlor's life and criminal career reflect the complexities and challenges of navigating the criminal underworld, where personal efforts to change course are frequently overshadowed by persistent violence and criminal connections. His story remains a stark reminder of the pervasive influence of gang violence and the difficulty of breaking free from its grip. Richie Carberry, who was Robbie Lawlor's brother-in-law, was a significant figure in the Drogheda drug trade. Carberry, originally from Coolock, Dublin, had established himself as a major player in the drug wars over the course of a decade. His involvement in the criminal underworld was marked by intense rivalries and violence, particularly in the drug trade that plagued the region. As Carberry's criminal activities escalated, so did the threats against him. To protect himself and his family from the mounting violence, Carberry took extensive security measures. He installed bulletproof windows in his house in County Louth, a stark indicator of the extreme risks associated with his lifestyle. This step was not merely a precaution, but a necessary measure given the intensity of the drug wars and the threats he faced. Despite these precautions, Carberry's life was tragically cut short. On April 8, 2018, Carberry was murdered in what was believed to be a targeted attack linked to ongoing gang conflicts. His death was a significant event in the criminal landscape of Ireland and highlighted the brutal nature of the drug trade. The media coverage of Carberry's murder was limited in the immediate aftermath, but the story gained more attention in the months following his death. In April 2018, shortly after Carberry's murder, Lawlor embarked on an international trip. Lawlor's travels included visits to various locations such as Rome and Bethlehem. Notably, Lawlor was accompanied by Carberry's family during this trip, reflecting the close relationship he had with them and highlighting the impact of Carberry's death on those left behind. Lawlor's international journey following Carberry's murder was significant for several reasons. It not only underscored his connection to Carberry and his family, but also marked a period of heightened scrutiny and speculation regarding his involvement in the criminal activities that led to Carberry's death. The close ties between Lawlor and Carberry's family, combined with the timing of Lawlor's travels, added layers of complexity to the ongoing investigations and media coverage of the case. Carberry's murder and Lawlor's subsequent actions provide insight into the dangerous world of organized crime and the personal consequences faced by those involved. The violent nature of the drug trade, coupled with the personal risks and security measures taken by figures like Carberry, underscores the pervasive and often deadly consequences of gang conflicts. Lawlor's peculiar nature was further exemplified when he made a significant charitable gesture. He purchased and donated football kits to underprivileged children, capturing the event in photographs. This act indicated that despite his criminal lifestyle, Lawlor had aspirations of engaging in charity work, although his exact plans remained unclear. This gesture offered a glimpse into the more complex aspects of his personality. Following his return from this global trip, Lawlor's personal life deteriorated. His ex-partner, Claire Wan, began a new relationship with David Mitchell, which Lawlor could not tolerate. His dissatisfaction led to a series of threats and attempts to intimidate Wan into ending her relationship with Mitchell. The situation escalated when Lawlor orchestrated an attack on Mitchell's mother on January 26, 2018. Mitchell's mother reported seeing two men, one armed with a gun, entering her garden. She identified one of the attackers as Lawlor, who had been making indirect threats previously. Despite CCTV evidence showing two men near Mitchell's home, the footage did not clearly identify them. The assault on Mitchell's mother was part of a larger campaign of intimidation that Lawlor waged against his former partner and her new partner. Lawlor's refusal to accept the new relationship led to further violence, contributing to the volatile environment in which he operated. After the attack on Mitchell's mother, media reports diverged regarding Lawlor's whereabouts. Some sources claimed he spent the ensuing period in prison, while others suggested he was out on bail. During this tumultuous time, Lawlor's personal life was unraveling, and his involvement in the criminal world intensified. As he faced threats from his enemies in Kulak, he spent increasing amounts of time in Drogheda, where tensions with local drug dealers escalated. On July 5, 2018, Lawlor was implicated in a significant shooting incident in Drogheda. The attack targeted Owen Maguire, who was shot multiple times. Maguire survived but suffered severe injuries, including a bullet lodged in his spine, which could have lasting health consequences. Maguire, known to authorities for his criminal activities, had been involved in various attacks and faced financial scrutiny from the Criminal Assets Bureau. The shooting marked a new phase in the violent feud, with Lawlor's involvement in such attacks highlighting his role in the escalating conflict. Lawlor's actions were reportedly part of a broader campaign against rival gangs and local figures. Following the attack, Lawlor was apprehended by police while driving under suspicious circumstances, including being covered in petrol and dressed in boxer shorts. This led to speculation that he had attempted to destroy evidence related to the shooting. In November 2018, Lawlor's criminal network was further disrupted by a series of violent incidents, including the abduction and severe beating of a man in Moneymore Estates. The situation continued to spiral with more petrol bombings and shootings. Notably, Brendan Maguire, related to Owen, was also targeted in February 2019, but survived the attack despite being shot in broad daylight. Lawlor's imprisonment for alleged traffic offenses and other charges did little to calm the growing chaos. Despite his incarceration, he remained a central figure in the ongoing gangland conflicts. In October 2019, Lawlor was reportedly targeted by Cornelius Price and other inmates during a prison attack, suffering severe injuries but not requiring hospitalization. On November 4, 2019, Robbie Lawlor was tragically shot in Bettystown, County Meath, just days before he was scheduled to move to Britain. He was ambushed by a gunman who fired at least 3 rounds from a machine gun pistol. Despite efforts by his wife and daughter to assist him until paramedics arrived, Lawlor was pronounced dead an hour later at Drogheda Hospital. The shooting occurred in a residential estate while Lawlor was getting out of his car and closing his gate. The assailant approached him and fired, hitting 3 cars in the vicinity. This violent incident was devastating news for those connected to Lawlor and would have had a profound impact on his mental health. Lawlor's life was marred by violence and turmoil. In August 2019, Keith Brannigan, another associate linked to Richie Carberry, was murdered in County Louth. Brannigan's death was attributed to his connections with gangland figures, highlighting the ongoing gangland violence that surrounded Lawlor. In December 2019, Lawlor faced a trial for several charges, including threatening to murder his ex-girlfriend's partner, attempting to murder her mother, possessing a gun, and killing a dog. His ex-girlfriend, Fiona Mitchell, later retracted her statement, leading to Lawlor's acquittal of all charges. Despite his acquittal, Lawlor remained under significant threat from rival gangs and was warned by police about the danger to his life. In January 2020, the body of 17-year-old Keon Woods was discovered in a sports bag in Kulak. Further remains were found in a burnt-out car in Trinity Terrace. The police suspected Lawlor and his gang were involved in the brutal murder, which included the beheading of Woods. The disposal of the body was intended to frustrate the investigation and highlighted the brutal nature of the violence associated with Lawlor. Following his release from prison, Lawlor continued to live openly, frequenting local pubs despite the threats against him. On April 4, 2020, Lawlor was killed in Belfast while attempting to collect a drug debt. He was shot multiple times and died at the scene. 4 suspects were later arrested, including individuals connected to a Limerick gang and a Republican dissident group. It was alleged that Lawlor had been betrayed by the McAfee Dungeon Gang, who were paid £100,000 to set him up with fake bullets. Lawlor's death was met with mixed reactions in Dublin, with some celebrating his demise. His life had been marked by violence and fear, and his death was seen by some as a form of poetic justice. The case underscored the persistent issue of gang violence in Ireland and the need for improved prevention and intervention strategies. Robbie Lawlor's life and death reflect the brutal reality of gang violence and its devastating impact on individuals and communities. His story underscores the urgent need for effective crime prevention and intervention strategies to address the ongoing issues of gang-related violence. As Ireland continues to grapple with these challenges, it is crucial to focus on creating safer communities and providing better opportunities for young people to break free from the cycle of crime.